Welcome back, everybody. This is the Anatomy of a VFP Runtime Command Window session. My name is Rick Schumer from White Light Computing. Quick bit about me. I'm president of White Light Computing. We're a software development firm here in southeastern Michigan and literally all over North America. Partner of Forward Thinking Software, which is the creators of CleverFox Backup. Of course, I'm a partner at Geek Gatherings, puts on this conference in Southwest Fox. I was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award back in 2010, which seems like a long time ago now. Retired MVP, which is the only time you'll probably see retired and Rick Schumer in the same sentence. VFPX administrator, authored some tools, wrote some books. The most important slide, bullet point of all these slides, though, is my email address here. If you have any questions about this session or any other session I participated in, feel free to pop me some questions. Today we're going to take a look at some runtime command windows and hopefully provide you some inspiration either to improve your own runtime command window or maybe even some other tools in the way you architect them and how you put them together for others to possibly use. I'm going to demonstrate several runtime command windows that were written by other FoxPro developers and shared in our community. We're going to discuss some requirements and why a runtime window command window might be needed. Then we're going to take a look at FoxCommand, which is something me and my team have put together, and we're going to dissect it to sort of see how it's assembled a little bit, see how you can extend it and enhance it, white brand it, do whatever you want with it. Talk about some deployment considerations, and then at the very end, if some time allows, we'll talk about portable Visual FoxPro. So why a runtime command window? It's a good question. I use it in two ways. One is to support customers who don't have a license of Visual FoxPro and need some support with the applications that we're providing and supporting. We have over 1,000 locations for one of our customers, for one of our applications. And I don't think a single one of them that I know of has a license to Visual FoxPro on site. So we use the runtime command windows to log in and look at data and run things and see how we can get their applications up and running if there's a problem. You also can use, and this is probably a little known side effect, but you can use these tools to extend the features of an application that don't have like an add-on framework to allow the customers to run scripts or for you to run scripts to run queries, dump data, to export data, whatever it is, to help customers analyze the information in their systems. All right, so let's take a look at some community tools. There's three of them that I'm going to demonstrate. First one is called VRun Fox 9. It's by Ed Leaf. It's available on the leaf.com website. All the details where you can download these tools and who wrote them and all that is in the white paper. When you deploy it, it's easy. You just put in a folder. You're just going to get the run vfox run exe. I added the config fpw to help configure paths and stuff for my demo. The readme.txt also comes with the product. A config file is something it writes when it finishes to store some settings for fonts and colors and window positions. And then the vfox vrun fox command text is actually the commands that you've entered in. So I'm just double click on it. You can see that it pops up. It is probably the most, it mimics the Visual FoxPro command window the most. And out of all the tools that you'll see, it really is the most like a VFP IDE experience. So you can literally come up here. If I wanted to see what the temp folder was, I can actually go up in the commands and click on them to rerun them. I'm going to open up some data. I'm going to use a view. And I can do a browse, and I'm browsing the data. In a support scenario, I may find that a primary key got whacked, or I might have to fill in some fields, or I may be running into corrupt tables, numeric overflows. Those are the main kind of reasons of why I'm using a runtime command window. And you'll see that all the examples I'm giving you or showing you are EXEs that are standalone. You can also incorporate these into your applications, but I kind of prefer having it outside the application, because if I can't get in the application because something's wrong, I want to be able to make sure I um, can do stuff with the command window. You can also do things, say a customer has an issue, they want to see some data on a report. You could come in, you can actually, if I tried, let's say, Modi form, I can't do that, of course, because that's a feature that's not supported in the runtime environment. So I get an error 1001. That's a very common issue with runtime command windows, as you know, with your applications. But I can also do Modi report. And I can modify the report. I can create reports. It has, where I can go in and get the properties as long as I've deployed the proper runtime reporting apps. All that should work just fine. I can even go in and preview the report. It's okay. It's set in report mode 80. That's fine. So certain things won't work in this report, but that's okay. Anyways, that gives you a general idea of what you can do with runtime reporting, or with runtime windows, command windows. Anyways, this is a couple of things I want to note about this tool. Is it's not password protected, although you can drop in an FXP. There are some instructions in the README. You can drop an FXP into the folder, and it will allow you to do password protection. You have to take care of that yourself. Configuration file, I mentioned about that. It does allow for an external config FPW. I've recently learned that giving or having external config FPWs gives some people heartburn. You don't have to use an external one; it just allows it. Excuse me. This tool does not come with source code. Okay, Ed's site does not have the source code for this. I don't know if Ed would be willing to give that up. You'd have to ask him. He also has, this is VRun Fox 9. He also has a version for 8, 7, and so on, if you are deploying runtimes with those versions. Okay, any questions so far?
If the runtimes are runtimes required,
yes.
Do they have to be in the folder? Do they have to be registered?
Yeah, the runtimes are required. You have to supply the runtimes, just like you have to with your executables. For VFP9, there are the Woody runtime installers that you can use if you don't have an installer built to do that. But in my case, I'm already shipping the runtimes with our application, so they're there for this. It can be in the application folder. They can be in the common files folder. It can be anywhere in the Windows path, anywhere the runtimes normally belong for your applications.
Okay, that's it.
All right. The next one I'm going to show is FoxBox. FoxBox was written by a friend of mine, Alex Crott. We used to work together many lives ago at the same jobs, a couple of jobs actually. And he created a runtime command window to be used in the applications that we were deploying at the time. Originally written in VFP6, because that's what we were using at the turn of the century. I recently have updated this to be compiled or work and compile in VFP9 and Visual FoxPro Advanced, because someone was using it in those environments. Anyways, it comes with documentation, believe it or not. It's a couple page Word document. And it does come with source code. All right. So I'm just going to take a look at it. I'm running it standalone. Of course, it does work because you have the source. You can compile it into your exe if you like. The difference here is you have your command window down here in the edit box on the lower side of the form. And it takes and puts the command history up into a list box. You can double click on any of these and run the command again. It also comes with the ability to copy it so that you could enhance the command that you were just running, and so on. It comes with these what I call one-click shortcuts to open the DBC, to close the alias or cursor, to use a table in work area 0, to browse it. The browse is not the typical browse window. In fact, even if you browse in the command window, it brings up the FoxBox equivalent to like Super Browser and Thor. And so, anyways, it gives you the data in the browse. It gives you the ability to, if you have tags. I don't, because I should probably select customer and browse that. And now it shows you your list of tags that you have set up, along with the expressions for the various tags that you have that you can do. If you double click on it, it'll give you the ability to then seek, because it's setting the order 2 behind the scenes. So if I seek 6, hit enter, it seeks to the primary key with 6. It also has the ability to do locate, and if you want to do a locate because you don't have a tag for a specific record. The nice thing, you can, it shows you things like what your current database is, what your current folder is, gives you little hints so that you know where you are. It also has where you can select the databases that you may have open. When you're running inside of an application, you also have data sessions or open forms. It's just different data sessions, so you can select whatever data session you want to dig into, and then it'll refresh the list of open cursors that you have in that data session. As you can see with this tool, you have no password, but you could, since you have the source, you could modify it to do that if that was important to you. I think it is. It is got the one-click shortcuts. It has a separate data session view. It has a custom browse. It has the about screen, which also gives you access with the user manual to open up the user manual. It also has the system info. I've had this in our applications for eons. It opens up the Windows system information, which gives you details about the operating system, some of the hardware components, and some of the software that's installed on the machine, which can be useful in support scenarios. Really a nice program. It's been used for years. It's been downloaded quite a bit from my personal website, which is where Alex had me upload it early 2000s. So it's been around a while. Yeah, that's pretty much FoxCommand. It does a lot of the same things that we just saw. The command window access and all that is just deployed a little bit differently than what you saw with Ed's tool. Any questions on this one?
No questions.
All right. So now we're going to take a look at actually one of the tools that actually inspired this session. So years ago, during Show Us Your Apps, Sean and Morris, longtime attendee from Southwest Fox, came and did a demo about his Commander runtime. At the time, he showed it was built into his application. He has since then made it a standalone runtime command window as well. And we couldn't convince Shannon to do a session on this tool, so that's why I decided to do it instead. The force is strong with him. He would not give in to the Jedi mind tricks of becoming a speaker. So anyways, you delivered basically the EXE, the Commander EXE. I did a runtime, sorry, a config FPW. There is a password text file here. I am not going to tell you the password scheme because this is going to be, of course, recorded and put on YouTube. We don't want those kinds of things getting out in public. So anyways, if you download the session, you can see what the password is so that when you run this, you can put it in. All right, so I put a password in. It pops up the IPS command window. Similar to Foxbox, it's a standalone window. It's not like a command window straight from Visual FoxPro. We're going to do the same things we've been doing. Okay, and as you see, when I put the commands in, it puts the list, the command history down in the window or the list box on the bottom. I'm not sure if that's a list box, but it works like a list box. Anyways, as I'm working with that, and I can do things like Mighty Report, you'll see that I put no weight on it. And that is so that I can come back to the command window and still have the command, the report designer remain open. You'll see when I do browses, I do browse no wait so that the browses stay open when I jump back into the command window. It's just something you get used to when you're in the runtime command window. I can run the report, preview it, do all that. Works great. One of the things I put in the config FPW is report behavior 90 so that you can see that I'm running the VFP9 reports just fine. Very slick tool. Very impressed with this. So here, if I double click on it on the command in the history, it puts it back to I can edit it again. You can zoom the command so that if you can't see the font size, you can change it. That's all good and dandy. You can also use a build expression. Brings up the expression builder in Visual FoxPro. So if you need your list of fields in a cursor or functions that are in FoxPro that you don't know that or you're not remembering the syntax for, you can do all that with the build expression. The data tab shows you your data session basically. It shows you your open cursors, gives you the ability to go in and browse. So you can, and it does a browse no wait because Shannon probably ran into the same thing that we all run into, and you jump back to the command window, it disappears. You can open cursors. So if you want to go back to your data, you can open another cursor, puts it in as a using zero type scenario. You can see here now it's giving me shortcuts so that I can sort, put it in different orders. If I have, this is a view, I can't set orders because I don't have it indexed. You can set filters. So if, and this is really nice. You can type in the filter condition, but this little builder works really nice. Category, select the field. I'll select description equal to oops. Okay, so it does. I do this every time. It's actually a good reminder that each of these tools are smart enough to capture the errors that you put in or that you trigger within your command window or through its own tools. In this case, you don't need the quotes because it's assumed. So I can just click that, and now I'm filtered just to the one record. I told Shannon I think it would be really cool to see the filter condition either as a tooltip or something. I'm hoping that he does that at some point in the future. Set relation. Oh, I want to unset the filter, by the way, because that causes problems. So if I come in and do the set relation, he has a really nice utility here to do things that I'm not smart enough to deal with, which is the set relation command. It's been my evil nemesis since the early days of FoxPro. And so if I come in here, I have my customer, my child is my category, the expression will be the FK, and the sort order will be the primary key. And as I go through each of the records, the relation set and the child records for the child table show up below. Really slick, must be really handy, especially knowing Shannon's data. The type of application he has is in SQL Server. And so having the ability to bring down cursors and set relation is going to be a nice way to work with the data. And also, I should remember to mention that this tool was designed for Shannon's support people, not necessarily being developers. Okay, so support technicians use this tool, so he's made it as simple as you can for non-developers to use as well. Modi structures available. If it's open exclusively, you can actually modify structures. Not sure I'm doing that in a production environment, but it is available, especially for lookups for what your column names are, what your indexes are, what rules you might have in place, and so on. The watch window is pretty neat, and I don't really have a really great example of this that I can show you without coming up with, sorry. Oops. And the watch window works just like the VFP debugger watch window. So with one exception, you have to right click and you have to link this watch to actually have it refresh. So right now, oops, I really have to do something that would be valid, which is underscore VFP dot with. I'm going to read that watch and link this watch. And as I resize the screen, you can actually see that the value works, that it's being refreshed. Now you can do that with other variables that are in scope and so on, so that you can see as you're working with your data that it will, that reminds me of something else. As you're working with it, it will change. Okay. All right, I'm going to delete that. One other thing I forgot to mention, in the customer field, you have where you can sum a field. And if I sum this end sort field, it gives me the sum at the bottom here in the status bar of the command window. It says 38. Now, to understand where this is coming from, Shannon does financial type data. And so he probably has where they want to just understand the sums of various financial numbers in their data. Very cool little feature that you can see it's customized specific for the needs of the applications it's supporting, which is what a lot of us do, is we build tools that help us specific to what we need to do. The SQL interface gives you the ability, I'm not going to go into this because of time limitations, but you can go in and set up a connection to remote data. So if you have a SQL Server database, you can set up a connection to that remote database. It gives you the ability to put in a username, password if you're using that type of security and credentials, and gives you a backup connection handle, which you can then use in subsequent SQL execs and so on. See, make sure I've covered everything I want to talk about. Yeah. Oh, one other thing, and this is in the white paper on some examples. One thing that's very cool with this particular tool is Shannon has built in like 50 functions that are commonly used by his team, maybe not even commonly used, but needed by his team. And so he has things like fix table, change field size, data loss test, so that his support people can and himself can go in and rapidly fix things and do things that they need to support their customers. Any questions on this?
Yes, we have a few. Do any of the command windows have IntelliSense?
Good question. Coming up soon.
Okay. Can you change the default fonts for the command window?
I want to address that. So far, none of the command windows I've shown have IntelliSense, to be clear about that. What was the second question?
Can you change the default fonts for the command window?
Um, you can for, I think Ed's tool allows you to do that. Um, the other tools, well, Foxbox has source code, so you could change that. Shannon's is, I don't know if it has that or not. I can't answer specifically. Maybe he can address it in the if he's watching the session.
Okay. Can you make it use super browse instead of regular browse?
You can do anything you want.
Okay.
So the answer, I don't want to be snarky about that, but yes, I mean, can you incorporate Thor? Watch, stick around. We got more.
Sean wants to know, does the
Oh.
watch work with objects?
The answer, I believe, is yes. I haven't done that or experienced that, but if I remember his notes to me, that was something you could do.
Looks like that's it.
All right, great. Thanks for setting me up, Shannon. All right. Let's go back to the slides. So some general requirements. I wanted to show you all some examples of things just so you understood what a runtime command window was before we jumped into requirements. So you have to obviously be able to execute commands, and it's going to be able to allow you to execute anything FoxPro runtime runtime support. I wanted to be able to keep track of the commands so that I can easily execute them again or use them to help facilitate anything that will allow me to support faster. Because there's nothing worse than connected into a customer's computer and slowly support the application that's not running that they desperately want running. It also has to not crash. And I will tell you that I've used other command windows from other developers, and I'm not trying to judge or anything, but when a command window crashes because you put in a malformed command, you can fix that. And I would prefer to be able to not crash myself because there are other things that you can do that will cause it to crash. And having a malformed command, which is something I probably do too many times a day, is not one of those. It has to provide some flexibility in settings to address common issues like base pathing, environment settings, anything that has, the set commands. I want to be able to control those to my preferences um, or be able to enter them in quickly in the command window. Internal and maybe even an external config FPW, I think should be supported just so that other developers who are using the tool could customize it to their needs. Enable and simplifying common commands to quickly get into data, browse it, fix it, repair it, and whatnot. Anything that hacks the support scenarios are important to me. Additional advanced requirements, don't need it all the time, but maybe password protection should be a general requirement. But most command windows I have seen in the field do not have password protection. Some do, but I've seen a lot that don't. And then if we want, we can extend features, IntelliSense, Store, see questions that you guys already threw up. Foxy Previewer, Data Explorer, Environment Manager, Data Repair, all tools that are available to us through open source should, an advanced tool can support that. Hints about the data environment, anything that gives me an idea of what folder I'm in, what tables are open, what orders are set, all that would be important to me. I want to then take it even further and architect it so that any feature in the system can easily be overridden and enhanced in a simple manner. Now that becomes a really complicated thing. Incorporating VFPX version of the VFP help file. So now, because it's open source, I can hit F1 and have the same help file at runtime as I do in production. Have an about screen that shows me what I've got going on with what's loaded, what's installed. Incorporate some features that other tools are that never made it into FoxCommand. I am not above stealing ideas from Shannon and Alex and Ed and others because anything that makes my life better in support is good for me. Data drive stuff so that you'll see in FoxCommand we have a factory scheme so that you can change what classes get instantiated so you can overwrite behavior. Easier to access to index tags and filter expressions, being able to dump data to XLSX, which is our customer's #1 preferred format for analyzing their data. Save session commands, hardened stability with a global error handler. I will tell you that I changed my session based on Doug doing his VFPX session last week. Not something I actually recommend to speakers, and probably not a good example of doing that, but I actually changed the tool to involve Doug's global error handler into my tool. It turned out to be something I actually needed. I was going to work around it for this session, but I just put it in. All right. Any questions on any requirements or any additional requirements you thought of that maybe is important for a runtime command window?
Just one question. Selecting a combination of commands and then pressing Shift and F10 and then selecting execute. Does that work? I think he means like basically instead of typing one command at a time, can I type in a bunch of commands and then execute them as a group?
In any of the, I don't know. I have not tried that in any of the command windows, and I will tell you that that does not work in FoxCommand. But all the command windows allow you to do modicom. Actually, no, you can't do that. Modicom, you can write the program and then do the program in the command window. Execute code option does not exist in the runtimes, unfortunately. Another thing I wish I could ask Microsoft for.
Okay, that's it for questions.
Okay. All right, so let's take a look at FoxCommand. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to run what I call bare bones. Okay, I have to put in a password. I'm not telling you how that works. Remember how it works. Anyways, the source code is available in the downloads, and the 10 different ways of doing passwords is available in the documentation in the source code. All right. So FoxCommand here has a lot of the buttons you see from FoxBox. I borrowed that from FoxBox years ago. I also put in things like, the default directory, what the current database is, what the current table is. It has an about window, tells you what the command tool name is. It gives you some details about where it's getting the Visual FoxPro libraries. It allows you to know which version of Windows you're running on, stuff like that. It has a system info, just like FoxBox did. It has a change log, which pops up a list of all the enhancements I've done over time. Okay, nothing fancy, but it's just very bare bones. It comes in. I'm going to open a database just like I did earlier. And the only reason I'm not using these buttons is because the data is not directly below the folder I'm in. It's path. It's doing it's using the path to open the data. And so on. This one has a separate command data session window. It starts out in data session 2. It works like FoxBox, and Commander gives you all the open data sessions available. It goes through, gives you the ability to display properties. So if you're on a table, you list the properties, gives you some details about the structure of the table, all the files involved, how large they are in bytes, and when they were last updated. And also it gives you details about buffering. You can browse it. No shock there. It has a filter capability, not as nice as Shannon's. Uses the builder, the expression builder built into FoxPro. You can reindex the table as long as it's opened exclusively. If it's not, errors out, tells you it can't do that. Modifies the structure. Again, just brings up the ModiStruct window. It will allow you to dump to XLSX, and it will shell execute the Excel file and brings up the output. Now, I will tell you that I leveraged VFPX XLSX workbook, and it is super easy to integrate into your applications if you have not looked at that. When you do create it, it creates a lot of extra cursors and does not clean them up. So if you right click on that button, it will close all those cursors to clean up your data session window. Of course, you can close cursor, open database containers, use files, and so on. Everything that you normally can do quickly in a command window. All right. It can do it's this 2023 dumps out the cursor. All the commands from mine do not show up in a list box. They actually dump out on the desktop. So that is just a different approach. By the way, Frank Perez, former white lighter, good friend of all of ours, he built this originally. This was his original build and his idea for dumping it onto the desktop, which is fine. If you don't like that, you can still clear them. You can also get the command history. I can click on that button and I can dump those because it puts it on the clipboard. Okay. If I want to, I can also right click on this. And one thing when you're using FoxCommand is look for the tooltips. If there is dual functionality, it'll be on the right click of the button and the tooltip will tell you. So in this case, if I right click, it'll dump it out and allow me to save it to a program file, PRG. Changing folders, which is something you do quite regularly, brings up the folder, browse folder dialog. Browse allows you to browse and come back in. So it's doing a browse, no wait. Just to be clear on how that works, if I did a browse and I click back onto the command window, it goes away. That's why you need the no wait. Same with modicom or modi report, something like that. You add the no wait clause so that it stays alive in the environment. So it does have a menu. It does an about window for Visual FoxPro, which all the commands tools do if they have the menu. Macros do not work. I thought they used to work. I thought we implemented it in software years and years ago, but macros don't work, unfortunately, because they come in handy every once in a while. So that's pretty much it for the basic version of the window. So you can see there's nothing here in the lower right corner of the command window. You can also see that CM Repair, Environment Manager, and Data Explorer are all disabled. So let's run it in full mode. Okay, now we can see, Stonefield Database Toolkit pops up. We got the Thor toolbar. It says it's enhanced with IntelliSense. It's enhanced with Thor. It's enhanced with the VFP help file, CM Repair, Environment Manager, Data Explorer, all enabled. All this is done by recognition of whether files or folders exist in the folders or files that FoxCommand is located in. So if you want your Thor tools available, you create a Thor subfolder and you copy your Thor subfolder from wherever you have it installed, and you drop it into the Thor subfolder under FoxCommand. And now Thor is enabled. And that gives you whatever Thor tools you have put on your menu or your toolbar and are available through your hotkeys. Okay, so however you have it set up. Now I will give one disclaimer. It's a really important piece, and that is if Thor is running, because Thor was designed to run in the IDE, not as a runtime tool. If Thor tools are using anything that is not allowed in runtime, it's going to error out, right? So that's just a fact of life. It's just the way it is. IntelliSense is enabled if the foxcode.app is in the folder with FoxCommand. Bring that folder up. Actually, I don't have it shortcut. If you have the FoxCommand DBF and our Fox code DBF and FPT in the application folder, those three files enable IntelliSense. So if I modicom, I do select S, I now got full command expansion, right? My Windows message box function has expansion. If I'm doing use in, I now have customer, and now I have all the clauses pop down, drop down, everything that's available in IntelliSense. Like if I jump up to the message box and do Control I, it gives me all the tooltips. So you have full IntelliSense within the program editor, as well as memo fields. If you pop open a memo field, that's enabled with IntelliSense as well. So that's built in. You can do that in your runtime applications. There are articles. I think Doug has one on his website for runtime IntelliSense. I've done an IntelliSense session at prior virtual Fox Fests. So there's ways you can incorporate these in your applications, not just your runtime command windows. All right, so Thor, one of the things that I like to do is my IntelliSense tip of the day. Brings up various random records from my IntelliSense file so that I can learn and relearn some of the tips I've done over the years or IntelliSense enhancements that I've done. So everything on Thor, you have to basically try out, see if it works. For instance, let's see, I got to show cursor. No, I don't have anything open. I'm going to use the customer file, and then I'm going to do one of the things I really like is the schema, and that is the schema output from Thor. Okay. I'm not going to show Super Browser because I think Super Browser does give heartburn to the tools. VFPX help file. If I hit F1 key, it opens it up. That's because I have the VFP runtime help file runtimes installed. So if you want to deploy this, you would have to do the Fox help two runtime files, and one has to be registered. Now, registering this would be a pain because that means you're going to have an installer or some way to register that file. So what I also did is I made this a hyperlink so that you can actually open it without the runtimes, help runtimes being installed. Just one extra little thing to save time for dropping it into the folder. Data Explorer gives you the ability to set up a connection for the data. Now this has everything that has, because I'm running it on my development machine. But if I make a connection to my customer's data, I could come in here and run a query and execute. And now I got a different type of browse with more of a ability to do stuff with the data that that I have queried out. So I can build queries, run query strings, whatever it is to, run different types of queries to get the result sets to do something with for our customers. Data Explorer is really cool. Environment Manager. I do not use the Environment Manager in Visual FoxPro IDE, but I know several people on my team as well as other developers in our community that do use it. It's a way to be able to get your settings, the various sets, pathing and all that set up the way you want it in your environment. Works great, especially if you're working with various customer projects, but also could be for various customer environments, however you want to set it up. If you want this, you just have to have an EM folder, subfolder, with the Environment Manager app in it. It also requires, well, it doesn't require it, we'll create it, but you can also ship in the Home 7 folder uh, the metadata required by the Environment Manager. One thing to note about the Home 7 folder in the runtime is that it's a roaming profile scenario, so it would be in a different folder depending on who you're logged in as. If you're logged in as customer A and customer B, they'll have different roaming folders, so that could be an issue that you have to worry about. Data Explorer, by the way, is a DX subfolder with DX, the Data Explorer app in it. It also has a Home 7 metadata component to it. CM Repair. CM Repair is my favorite data DBF corrupt DBF fixer, and it works great. Let's just go in and select a table here. I know this one's broken. You can see here that the table file size is off by a few bytes. I click change, table's fixed. We're in business. The customer can go back to doing their job. It works really well, especially with simple data corruption fixes. Complicated could be a little more different. Just to show you the error handler, open folder, my tools. So you can see Doug's error handler, the VFP error handler jumps in. If I hit cancel, it closes the command window. It closes the FoxCommand altogether, as does quit. If I was running FoxCommand within an application, which it's architected to do, hasn't been implemented that way, but it has been architected to do that, it would cancel it and go into your application. Continue, that's my favorite thing. It allows me to go back and continue on using the application. It records the error in the error log. It works great. I do want to show you one other thing that's kind of cool. I emailed Doug about this. I said my mind was blown. If I go into debug mode, it brings up another command window. So now I have two command windows that I can use to execute my commands within FoxCommand. All right. Any questions?
Yes. Let me find it. Does it log what users were doing in the command window so we can either prove to a customer that they did something or that we did not do something?
That's an excellent question. So FoxCommand does not do that. The Run Fox 9 by Ed, saves his commands automatically to a text file, but it's only saving it to a text file. It could easily be deleted. But it is something that's actually something I've thought about. It's not something I've implemented. It's actually a really good idea.
Okay, that's it for questions.
Okay. All right. Let's dive into some limitations. So obviously, feature not available, error 1001. If it's a command that doesn't run at runtime, it doesn't run in the command windows. IntelliSense does not work in the command window. If I had the ability to pull someone aside and make it available in an edit box, it would be really cool to do. One thing I will tell you is I've thought about doing command expansion in FoxCommand, because I could look it up. I could look up what you type in, and if it does have command expansion in the Fox code table, I could easily expand it and make it easy for you to use. That is another future enhancement idea that I have. Error capturing. It's a lot easier when you have an error handler. If you do not put an error handler in, you get the default error handling of Visual FoxPro. So it's something you definitely want to consider. I already mentioned macros running from the menu. So every command window tool captures it through the command window edit box or whatever it's using. If you don't have, and that's easy to do local error handling with try catch. But if you run it from the menu or you run it from Data Explorer or Thor, all that is running outside of your local try catches. So you have to really take under consideration running things from menu can cause problems. And that's why I implemented the global error handler from Dud. Remote data integration shortcuts. I did not implement that like Shannon did. Now, Shannon had a good reason because it's the way his data is. And we have applications that use SQL Server and MySQL and so on as well. Our tool doesn't have the remote data integration. And the reason I did not implement it is because there are tools like Management Studio or SQL Yog or whatever that give you the ability to work with data and run data commands on it. And so that's why I haven't implemented it. But implementing remote data tools like what Shannon did is not all that complex. It can be done. All right, let's go into some extensibility because I know that there may be one or two people at least. Well, hopefully, maybe not. Maybe all of you guys have your own command windows and you don't really care how this is built. But I want to show you some extensibility and how you can take the source code that I've given you and without changing a lot of source code, you can make it look different or behave different. You will have to change source code for behavior, but for actual some things you don't need to do that. The first thing we have is the command, FoxCommand XML. It's a settings file. It's XML, obviously. Between each of the tags are actual things that you can do to configure it the way you want it to work. So the default path, and all this is documented in the white paper. I'm not going to go through every single thing, but the default path, I can extend it to something that's useful. There isn't a instrumentation capability within FoxCommand that allows you to sort of debug, and it will actually display it'll log all the commands that were done in that session. Back to that question from earlier, it'll put it into a log file. You can name that log file whatever you want. If you want the background to be a different color, foreground on the desktop to be a different color, I have it maximized when it starts. If you don't like that, you can change it to a different thing, a different setting. The font on the desktop can be changed, not the command window. That could be enhanced as well based on that question. You can change the font name, the bold, and 13 for font size. The reason I put this in was for this session because I wanted you to be able to see what was being displayed. It also keeps track of window positions. You can change the logo from the white light logo to your own favorite logo if you want. Factory tables. This is where the real power is. This is an idea that's in a lot of frameworks, commercial frameworks, your own frameworks probably. And that is instead of doing a new object, quote, this class, quote, this visual class library or whatever class library, PRG based, everything is run from an instantiation of the major components in FoxCommand are done data driven. So the about screen is in the forms VCX and it's called form about. If you don't want that, you could modify this table or better yet, a different table and change it to a different class that you create. So it's got whatever you want on it. Even the command window can be changed to your own. So Joel showed a dot prompt tool that he was building the other day. And you could change it to be a dot prompt if you want it. I casually said that I could meet that challenge when I was talking after the session. I didn't get around to it because there was not enough time. The data session window could be a different data session window. The error handler initialization, which is all the initialization you have to do for the VFPX error handler, is in its own class. So you can change that to your own desire. For instance, I disabled all the email capability and I set it up to use the developer window to display the errors instead of the nicer end user version. So anyways, the passcode, for instance, is to do your password entry and your password handler are all in their own classes. The data entry screen as well as the logic to get and verify the passwords. Okay. Now, this compiles into the exe, so you don't have any security concerns with that. It's all handled internally. You don't deploy anything extra that people could hack or anything like that. Now, there is a factory custom that also is built it's not shipped with the source code, but you can create. It's the same structure you would create from factory base, and then just add in records that you want to override. Now, I didn't override the form about. It's the same class, but it's there as an example. Here is a subclass of the base FoxCommand base class, which is how I integrate it in Stonefield Query to run. I'm sorry, not Stonefield Query, but Stonefield Database Toolkit, which is open source now. And the password handler could be easily overwritten here. Now, over to the last column here is the source. The source of C is for custom, B is for base, and I did that so I know which records I'm using or which records got evaluated for the version that I was running. If you put a P in the factory base table for the password, you can't override this. You can't override the password handler. It will ignore any custom password handlers. All this is documented in the white paper to be more clear. It's there for security because you could either compile factory custom into your executable, or you could leave it external so that you could modify behaviors externally. Not probably recommend it. It's going to be a little bit of a security risk, but other than that, it works great. All right. The menu, I'm not going to open this one up in the interest of time, but there is a menu, an MNX, that's available in the program. If you want to add in entries on the menu, you can do that to your own heart's desire. There's really no object orientation to this particular menu. It does not use the VFPX object orient menus, which might be a nice enhancement, but it gives you the ability to override it. Config FPW, there is an internal config FPW. It does allow for an external one. All the settings here are to what, I don't think I've changed any of these. I think these are all what Frank originally set up. And then if you do want to, you can have an external one. So in the case of the demo, I wanted the resource on so that Windows popped up in the same spot. I wanted report behavior to be 90 so that I got the report, the VFP9 reporting, and then the paths to all my folders that I needed, data and whatnot. So you can do that. You can override it. You don't have to distribute one if you don't have to override anything. Dynamic forms. I'm not going to actually demo the dynamic forms. Dynamic forms is compiled in, actually I should show you one other thing though. Dynamic forms is one of the masterminds of Matt Slay. I compiled in the class library, which you basically just instantiate the dynamic form from the dynamic form PRG. It's built into FoxCommand, so you can write code that will build a form on the fly. Okay, instead of sending over an SCX, you can write a PRG that would do the same thing. Once you have the form instantiated, you can do anything you can do to a form, setting the captions, headings, and so on. And to build the data entry components of the form, you basically do body markup. There could be probably a significant session just on dynamic forms. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time, but you can see here, I've got a grid. I've dropped down combo boxes. Down here, I have my own edit classes, edit box classes, and so on. Anyways, this script gets rendered. The form gets rendered to the screen. You interact with it. You save the data. You can do anything you want that you can do in a form. Just one way of building tools that the point that I use this the most for is if I need a data entry screen for reporting criteria that I'm building on the fly for the customer on something that's not in our application, but I can quickly whip up as an app or an FXP and dump that in and let them run it from the command window in the application. So that's what I use, and I think is the most useful thing of dynamic forms. All right. Any questions on the extensibility?
Not right now.
Okay. Under the hood. Under the hood, there's just a couple of programs I think are interesting that you might find interesting. The Enhanced OS, PRG. I can show these. This is kind of a tool, or PRG, that gives you the details about the operating system. The OS function in VFP has sort of not kept up with the newer versions of Windows. Anyways, this is a collaboration. This code is I've gotten from a lot of different developers through the Fox Wiki, and I know Rick Bean has been one of those people who's contributed a lot to this. Anyways, I modified this so it works with Windows 11. Windows 11, by the way, is version 10 under the hood, but the build number is 22,000 or higher, gives you Windows 11. So I just change it so it returns Windows 11. I use that in all our applications that I release. The other tool that I think might be handy is File APIs. And I'm going to show you the list. Why is that not coming up? Oh, I rebooted this morning. All right, hold on. So in this API or in this program are things to do: directory create, check if directory exists, get paths, file copies, deletes, all things you can do with FoxPro commands, but this is using Window API, which gives you a lot more control, especially when things don't work. And so if you're interested in this code, it's actually including this was a reminder to me that we have this code available to us at White Light. It's not always used. It does have a dependency on this API library PRG. All this is in the source code that is available to you. Any questions about anything under the hood or previous?
No questions.
Any questions so I can get a drink? Deployment considerations. Okay, minimum install, you need the exe. You need the runtimes either in the folder with the exe or in the various locations that you can install the runtimes. I did compile this under VFP Advanced as well. There is a FoxCommand A.exe that's also included. So it has been tested a little bit under Visual FoxPro Advanced. There is an issue when you start up Thor that it barks on, but it doesn't seem to have any impacts. You also need the runtime dependency files like GDI plus and the Visual C++ runtime files. If you want reporting, you need the 3 report apps if you're not using Foxy Previewer. I didn't demonstrate Foxy Previewer today because over the weekend when I was rehearsing, it was giving me some heartburn, and I'm not sure why, but it's one of those things that you should know about. If you do anything with XML, XML to cursor or anything like that, cursor to XML, you need the XML runtimes as well. IntelliSense needs the 3 Fox code files in the folder with the FoxCommand exe. Thor, subfolder for Thor, and then just copying the tools that you want. You can pare down Thor to remove tools as well as you find things that don't work or you don't think are necessary for your support. I will tell you that when I deploy Thor, it is gigantic. The amount of source code that's in there and tools that are in there and downloads that are in there can create a significant deployment footprint. Foxy Previewer needs foxypreviewer.app. You also need the permissions to be able to create the DBF and to read write from it, of course, for the settings. The VFP9 help file is just the chum file that's downloaded from VFPX. You have the two help runtimes if you want to register them and have F1 key access to the help file, but not necessary with the shortcut. Data Explorer is a DX subfolder, dataexplorer.app, and the Home 7 metadata. Environment Manager, EM folder, Environment Manager.app, Home 7 folder, CM repair. Either the exe or the app can be deployed. It is a commercial package, by the way. It's not open source. I use it all the time, so we obviously have license to it. It does require permissions to write the CM INI file. If you're using the VFPX error handler and want to use email, there's the files that Doug had documented in his white paper. If you want to use the screenshot capability, you have to have system.app, which is the GDI plus stuff. And I don't need that as well because it's just for me. Enhancement ideas. Incorporating VFPX My, which probably is one of the VFPX projects I don't see a whole lot about. It's quite powerful, has a lot of things in it that you can inspect from a support perspective with the hardware. It's not high on my list, but it's there. A link to the VFP help topic, language supported in runtime libraries. This helps when you want to find out things that are supported in the runtime command window or not. It's just one of those things that I don't have everything memorized. I can set it up on my favorite topics as well, which works just as good. So it's not high on the list of enhancements. Localization of various languages with help from the community. Obviously, I don't know all the natural languages that are spoken, but it'd probably be nice if some of the messages came up in other languages as well. There are a couple of approaches to doing that that I can take a look at. The CleverFox backup tool that we sell, it has a whole API to it. Minimally, I want to open up the local backup folder in File Explorer just so I can get to the local backups quickly. CleverFox lets me do that as well, but it's just a nice thing to be able to do. All right. Runtime versus in-application. We talked a little bit about this. You can easily put in a command window inside your custom application. If you do that, I highly recommend that you make it some credentials to get at it in some way, shape, or form so that the users don't go in there without some knowledge of what they're supposed to be doing. But we use it, and we have our applications, several of our applications, actually verticals, do that just because my support team, they don't really know that they know FoxPro, but they're learning FoxPro little by little. And someday maybe, to the point where they do mighty report and move things around. They don't know that they're using the FoxPro report designer like I do, but it's kind of fun to watch them do things to modify reports on the fly. But we use it also to run what I call scripts to the customer, which is FXP code, app code, and other EXEs. Works great. Application is not starting. That's why we have the external command windows. So I don't typically recommend having only an in-application command window, but it's something you have to make a decision on. That's it for that. FoxCommand source is released in the session downloads. I put them up earlier this morning. You're welcome to have at it. If you have suggestions that you want me to consider, you have my email address, so that's all available as well. I originally decided I was going to make this a VFPX project if I could get the other two VFPX administrators to consider it a VFPX project. As I was going through the preparing this session, I was leaning the other way of not doing it because of the passcode PRG being available. And when you open PRGs in GitHub, it will show you the documentation that says here's the password schemes that can be used, and all they'd have to do is try all 10 and they should be able to get in. So, but I did think about taking the PRG code for passwords and putting in a shell of that program, an abstract class, most likely with a basic password that no one should use, and then uh, make the external program or the base code for that an external program that you would then modify and through the factory um, compile it into your own version of it. So come to the Q&A afterwards and convince me whether it should be one way or the other. Portable Visual FoxPro. This is not a different version of Visual FoxPro. It's not like a competitor to Visual FoxPro 9 or Visual FoxPro Advanced. It is just basically putting Visual FoxPro onto a thumb drive and using it at a customer site. So this happened, the story that really introduced me to this by accident was I was visiting a customer down in Fort Worth. They had a VFP5 app that was in production for decades. They had an on-site development team that were struggling with a particular aspect of the application, asked me to be that extra set of eyes. I had to use their computers when I did that. And in doing so, I was stuck with VFP5, which doesn't have IntelliSense, which immediately handicapped my ability to do development. I also didn't have Thor. It didn't have, the VFP9 reporting, all the things. It didn't have try catch, all the things that I rely on a regular basis. So I asked the team there, can I use my own copy of VFP9 if I bring it on a thumb drive? And they said yes, they would let me do that. So I put it on a thumb drive, plugged it in, and I used VFP9 the whole time I was there, including all the add-ons and stuff that I regularly use. There are issues. If they don't have a copy of VFP on their site, then they may likely not have ActiveX controls that are going to be used by something like the class browser with the tree view, or the XML stuff for the task pane manager, or things that you don't really think about until they don't work. So there are things like some tools that may not work if they don't have certain components. Also, double clicking in File Explorer on a DBF is not going to open the portable version of FoxPro. It's going to open up the version VFP5 in the case of the project I was on. So, yeah, it's not a big deal. Works great. I know other developers who have done it. It's a remarkable way to do things. Any questions on this?
Going back a topic, do the in-app command tools see the current VFP environment that the main program is currently in?
Yes. In fact, that's why Shannon's tool, my tool, and Foxbox all have data session windows or data session drop downs so that you can switch between various private data sessions for the different forms that may be running within the application at that time that you run it.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Wow, I can't believe this is almost right on time. All right, what you may have learned today is that there's lots of Fox community tools available for you to use. That the FoxCommand that White Light has built, that I've been a part of, is flexible, extendable, and powerful. All runtime command windows have limitations, and portable Visual FoxPro can also work in a pinch as well. The white paper was updated yesterday. Just so you know, if you downloaded the original version, I updated the white paper to include all the details about the report handling, the error handling and stuff like that. And I updated things based on my practice sessions as well. Really appreciate you guys attending the session. Thanks for all the questions. I just like Christoph, although I'm not going to ask you for your credentials, I can just steal them from behind the scenes to put in your evaluations. But no, seriously, the evaluations that you guys contribute to me, whether you have constructive criticism or you want to share some accolades of any sort, will impact other sessions that I build for other future conferences that we put on. Thank you very much for attending. I'll head over to the Q&A session and have a great rest of the day at the conference.